Yep. Hi. You look so pretty.
I brushed the top part of my hair and I did not brush the bottom part because it's Tuesday, I think.
I think it's Tuesday. I don't know. So
And I have on Friday. Tuesday, so
I'm going to move back so everyone gets a better view. So thank you everybody for tuning in today. We have Kukula here and some of her pieces that we're going to discuss, as well as an upcoming project that we're excited to do. And as usual, if you have questions, just throw them our way. But first, we're going to start with talking about Blue Bloom, which is a piece over here. I'm going to get you guys some good detailed shots and give you an idea as far as how soft and beautiful she is. This is a painting that Kukula completed last year for us, and she's been on exhibit at the gallery since. And this particular girl is inspired by a fashion line or by a particular article of clothing. Do you mind telling us more about that?
yeah, that was last year, probably exactly a year ago, Rodarte collection. It's a gown made out of organza, and I really was just so inspired by the ridiculous amount of layers. And the painting itself is inspired by like Art Deco, but it's very 80s on purpose. First of all, the collection is very 80s, and I was born in the 80s, and I think the 80s are ridiculous, but the colors and the poppiness of them and the drama, I was kind of like trying to bring back posters, like illustration posters from the 80s in this one. And so it's completely different than anything else I did before. And then there is the other one that is gone to someone's house. So.
The other one was Pink Bloom, and so she was the same collection but a different style piece.
Yeah.
So
Also, like the roses and layers and ruffles. But this one is special in the way that I was really working on the ruffles more than anything else. What was important to me, to really see layers and transparency.
hopefully you guys can kind of see that as I get close. And was it very challenging to be able to kind of push and pull with the ruffled layers and work with that transparency?
Well, first of all, the hardest part was drawing it to really understand the structure of ruffles when they layered so many of them on top of each other and give it a natural look. And then later it was just endless layers of, transparencies, and first of all acrylic layer and then on oil. So there's like a million layers in paint also to create that illusion.
I feel like it definitely could give you a headache after doing it for too long, getting lost in the kind of the organized chaos of all of that.
Yeah, I really love this fabric.
And her makeup is quite beautiful too. There's a really gorgeous softness to her face that I hope you guys can see, as well as her hair and the addition of the roses. Someone asked if you speak Russian.
No, this is just my unique accent when I'm speaking.
Every art fair we go to, people always ask if you're from Russia. It's one of the most popular questions.
Absolutely Russian. No good reason for it, but it's like it's Natalie Abramovich. If I go to a doctor's office, the doctor usually, if he's Russian, starts speaking to me in Russian.
I mean, you have an affinity towards their fashion, especially, so perhaps they recognize it in some ways. And then they always tell me that Kukula is actually Russian for doll.
Yeah, in many languages it translates to dolls. Kukla, maybe not Kukula, in Russian, I think. but
similar enough.
what was this? What is this question?
So there's a question first about the makeup, and then Gina has a question. So the first question regarding makeup is it done with glazing or direct painting?
No, that's definitely glazing. That's both, I guess, but it's definitely, she was painted first, then I glazed her eyes, just like makeup. And actually, all of them, after I paint them, they get makeup on top, like you would actually apply real makeup, which that's why I actually like makeup videos, to give you good technique for right. I know it's also in Turkish. I saw that, so that's true. I heard that before. The Kukula in Turkish, a doll.
We haven't had an ask that yet, but I'm sure it's just a matter of time. And so Gina's question is your background, and is it in fashion?
No, I don't have a background in fashion. I did try to go to fashion school before I went to illustration, art and illustration in Israel. And at first I didn't get in. Then I was asked to come back again, and I decided it's not for me because I was so intimidated by the students that I got to meet in the interview, and the other ones that did get into the school. And the school was very competitive in Israel. It was like the best school in Israel. I decided that I don't like that feeling of competition, and I want to just like enjoy art school. So I went to like graphic design first, and then I changed it to illustration, and I majored in illustration.
And I'm sure you've always had an interest in fashion since you were a young child.
Yes, fashion. I'm happy I'm not in fashion, because fashion is my life more than painting, and painting was my life before that, and it became my job. So right now, for example, that I'm a little bit not too inspired by everything. I don't want to paint, and if it was my hobby, I would have painted right now. But I paint so much and I work so much, and there is a lot of like intensity in the work, that I'm happy that I can still look at fashion and hope for days that we're gonna go outside and be able to dress up. So I kind of like, so fashion is my main hobby and love. That's the background in fashion.
I mean, it's been a passion of yours for as long as I've known you, and it's constantly manifested itself in your work, whether it's intentional or if it's something that you're doing unique to the girls that you're designing and painting, where they create a fashion sense of their own. And with that, you have the Limoges style pieces where, for instance, these two here, which nobody can have because they're mine, but they are integrating little details. For instance, candelabra hybrid over here. That's her candelabra. And she has a clock. And over here. So you're going to hate me because I forgot her name. It's been such a long time since I've looked up her name. Do you know it?
Pink Limoges.
I've always called her Pink Limoges.
Have her pillow.
Look. But she also has a lot of filigree and beautiful detailing and teacup handles, from what I presume, integrated into her body. So she's transmogrified with the objects that further accentuate and represent her. So I think whether it's pulling indirectly or directly, you are creating your own fashion while I think paying homage and really embracing those that inspire you. And it's a huge part of your work. And I think that, as I've always learned, and what I appreciate considerably, is the fact that it allows women to be true to who they are and surround themselves and adorn themselves with what they love and what inspires them.
Actually, I do have one more thing to add about fashion and the meaning. And you said it, it was always a part of me. But when I grew up, when I was little, I watched a lot of performing arts on my one channel television, because Israel had only one channel, and we only had educational programming. So operas and ballets were always a part of my childhood. And there is, of course, costuming, and costuming is the most incredible part of performing arts. And I wanted to be in the performing arts, and I wanted to dance, and I wanted to act, and I just shit at that. They're all, you know, the whole thing together to build up a full story. Anything that you want to build up, the closing are incredibly important, and definitely in music and in ballet and operas, they were so important. And even if it's just a concert, the soloist will be dressed, and there is a meaning for clothes, and there is a meaning for items, and we all love art because art is an item. Any art of any kind is an well, I guess not poetry, not exactly items, but there is a description of visuals in poetry, and in everything there is a description. You use visuals to describe feelings in everything, and that's, I think, why fashion is so important, because I do paint characters.
You do, and you also, I think, highlight independent emerging fashion designers, those that haven't, become corporate, but rather are, working with a bunch of others and cultivating and producing their own ideas. So we don't have examples here, but you have focused on some that you become friendly with and integrated their fashion and what they're known for into your work too.
Because it's usually women, because I want to support other independent women, because if you don't have the money, talent can go and disappear in the fashion world and design world in general. It doesn't have to be only fashion. And to be an artist, to be a painter, you can do for free. But to be an actual fashion designer, and if you don't have a lot of money, you might, just not be able to use your amazing talent. So that's why I'm choosing a lot of independent small designers that can be as amazing as Valentino.
I think so too, and it's really cool because when we do our art fairs and we have the work, a lot of times people actually know those designers and they can pinpoint it when looking at your work. So
Cool.
it's really quite nice because it kind of reinforces what social media has done for all these independent creatives that started off as just a 1, 2, 3 team organization and have built up from there.
Yeah, well, that's pretty. That was probably with Yia. She was extremely recognizable.
And you did her portrait too. So between the leather outfit, like the harness style piece, and then her, people knew.
So
that's cool.
It's people wondering, it's creepy. YEAHA.
Yep. And so a question popped up about what you're working on, or is there anything new in the works?
Well, not really, but we are doing that benefit piece that we're making, you and I.
Yeah.
It's gonna be one piece of work on paper, inspired by the soldier nurses, and we are hoping that we want to make a free print, pretty much. Not free, it's just like we're not making any money, and we want to donate all the what's the word?
The proceeds.
The proceeds,
yeah.
So, yeah.
Kukula came up with this.
Yeah, everyone got all the way here. This is quick.
There she is.
Yeah.
She's so pretty. Look at her.
She has a lace mask because there are no masks anyway, so they're not protected, as you can see. And you have a big syringe that it will say fuck COVID-19 probably.
So you'll be coloring her in? Are you going to be using colored pencil?
Sketch. That's just a sketch.
So when you do her, when you transfer her over.
Yeah, she's gonna be quite pink, we said.
Yep, we decided on pink. So in a few days, we hope to have the drawing available, and then we'll be releasing an opened edition print run of her. So that will then have all the proceeds go to a specific charity. And we picked one out today, I think, right?
Yeah, but we want to donate to nurses because that's probably the most important thing. Nurses of New York, which is also more general than other stuff like we could find that will donate to one hospital or another, and this one is more general for New York nurses. I think we're gonna add that information. once we have the print. Once
Yeah.
we're done.
We're working on it. We're a little limited because many people aren't active at work, but we'll do our best. And we seem to have a path that we can pursue to get everyone their beautiful print and also donate everything that we can make off of those sales to the nurses to thank them for all that they're doing for us.
Yeah.
So pay attention to us because that will be announced as soon as we have more defined details. And so going back to your art now, these particular pieces and some pieces in general, tell us about Limoges Girls and what Limoges means, where that inspiration came from, and how they've continued to be a big part of your work throughout the years.
Well, it started after I was visiting, I guess, Versailles first, and I think it was the same year I also visited the Wallace collection in London, and I realized how much I'm inspired by the object themselves, and not necessarily fashion. And what I wanted to do is that I wanted to basically make a portrait that doesn't have a background, and the background is a part of the character without having any clothes. Like, you know, it's mostly supposed to be clothes that were added on later when we had to cover more boobs. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the idea is to bring the inside out, to bring all that is inside of you and all the visuals that you have inside your heart, you know, the aesthetics that creates the soul, and make it almost like a infliction or skin disease, or so it is grotesque and beautiful at the same time. It is supposed to look a little bit painful. It's very fragile, but it also creates some kind of like, I guess, like, don't touch me. I'm protection. I'm like, I'm fragile, don't touch it. So in some way, a lot of the times they're kind of transparent. They have like filigree on their neck and you can see through them, and that's what I love about Limoges. Oh, what is Limoges? Limoges is an origin in France where they make the traditional porcelains, and they created a lot of the porcelains that you will see in Versailles and the Wallace collection, the Frick collection, and they're incredibly detailed, and absolutely hand painted. Everything is quite extraordinary, and I wanted to honor that as a part of like our bodies, you know.
Well, yeah, that women's bodies and the individuals that we all are a collection of many things, many inspirations, many experiences and emotions, relationships, all of that. But I think, you know, for me at least, it's about wearing that all with pride and seeing the beauty in all that makes you who you are. And then, of course, also touching back, you know, to history, and because your work is very heavily influenced by the old masters and certain periods of art, allowing that to kind of come through and tie it back to that point, but also modernize it with your styling of the female form and the integration and the engineering of these aspects of the past with the contemporary woman.
And also adding the pop element to it is because it's not for aristocrats, it's for everybody. So that is a huge difference. Using the Rococo, which is a period that, you know, it's aesthetic that was belong only to aristocrats, and giving it to everybody, especially, you know, freedom for women and for everybody, like, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Hi.
Hi, Michelle.
And I just saw.
So the faces are very specific on your girls. As many artists in this genre have recognizable elements, in addition to the way that you decorate and you adorn your girls, their faces are very, very well known. So people will always know that it's your work. How did you go about finding this particular face? And constantly evolving it. So as you depict different females, having them change to express the different personalities and different identities.
Well, it didn't start this way. It started with basically there were a few women artists I really admired when I just started, like Junko Mizuno and Miss Van and Fafi, and they're more graphic than I am, I would say, in some ways. But I was very interested in understanding what make their faces unique and what make me like it, and understanding like how you build up some kind of a character that show an expression that is what you feel from feeling, and not necessarily something that it's realistic, because I think that what make them specific, those particular artists, is that they created faces that have their inside out. The expression is just stuck on their face, and it's a caricature. So so I think that's how you create the shape of the eyes, the distances between parts of the face. And of course, I was very, very inspired by Fragonard and Boucher, first of all, and how he created faces. And they're just kind of like the same. They're not realistic at all. The people that he painted, and he said this is a Madame de Pompadour. I'm sure she did not look like that, because she looked different in every other artist painting. So I have no idea how she really looked like. And that was to create an expression of a character. It's a kind of a caricature. But my biggest inspiration was anime, I think, like more than anything. And you can see that a lot of people think that it is anime. I don't really know why, but I guess like the shape of the triangled face and the big foreheads, there is some kind of a proportion to their face that definitely come directly from anime, that I already don't see it, but because I drew so much of that when I was younger, it's definitely built inside, and it's just like a lot of inspiration that slowly formed this face. And the funny thing is that I assume that's part of my husband's face in it, because my kid looked like that. Naya she came out and she just looked like my painting, and I realized like probably I just combined my husband's face to my face and created that face, and then that's what came out. So.
It could be. I never thought about it, but now that you say it kind of makes sense.
No, it's shocking. People constantly say she look like your painting, and that can be the only reason. It's just how much I keep looking at my husband's face, and I somehow made that connection without noticing.
Subconsciously, it just kind of filtered into your work.
Yes.
So now I have portraits of Ariel all over my house. You and I, because we've been friends for so long and we maintain our friendship as well as our professional relationship, have talked a lot about your work and about each other and everything and anything friends talk about. So I remember you mentioning to me once that there is like a self-portraiture element to the pieces and to these girls. And what I remember, which I thought was really cute and fun, was the fact that because they're quite heavy lidded, which oftentimes people suggest as, them being a bit sexy or flirtatious. But in fact, you said that because you're always sleepy, they have that heavy lid look to represent that aspect about you. Do you still think that?
Yeah, no, I'm very tired. I'm always very exhausted. I wake up tired. We have a very long question over there. You want to read it?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Since I have adapted pieces which have the addition of the ornate octopus character, why do you choose or connect with the octopus? Or for that matter, your snail character or bunnies?
Well, I don't have male characters. So I think that all of my animals, creatures or whatever, because one of my favorite characters actually the slug bunny or slug teddy bear. Well, the slugs are definitely supposed to be men. which is sounds very negative, but it's not necessarily. It's like, started negative, and I grew to like them and to love them. And that's a character that I developed when I was in art school because I was mad at my ex-boyfriend, and I made him into a little slug.
A uniworm.
Yeah, uniform, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they started having a relationship that is more loving relationship and nourishing relationship. It's more the main character will take care of them, and protect them, and will love them and take them as part of her life. And then there are the other characters that can be symbolizing friendships and any kind of relationships. And octopus in particular, I think like every animal, and I wish I went through all the animals. Like I never painted a giraffe or a monkey, and I love monkeys, and a donkey is my favorite animal. Never painted that. It is mostly because I really like the shape of an octopus and the fact that it is extraordinary animal. Like there is nothing like an octopus. It's one of a kind on the planet, and incredibly intelligent, and they have senses that there is no other animal that will have that kind of senses. For example, they can recognize a person just with their tentacles when they touch them. That they know that from aquariums and stuff like that. And I think that's why I really love them and fascinated by them. That's probably, and their brain. Well, they're pretty much one huge brain. So,
yeah, they're incredibly intelligent.
Yeah, so that's supposed to be, I guess, a symbol of intelligence. And they're kind of like, they're also asexual to me. I look at them as like, even though it's not traditionally in Japanese art, but to me they're not symbolize sex. They symbolize some kind of like a form of intelligence and stability.
And that makes sense. It works within the work itself too.
I'm reading
the next question. What do you think? Yeah, what do you think about childhood and art? Do you think our childhood is light for art?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, this is a one long line between childhood to now. Nothing changed in my life. I went to see, I talked about that on television, on national television in Israel once. It was incredibly embarrassing, but I'm gonna do it again. When I was 5 years old, my mom took me to the theater to see Care Bears, the movie. I think it's Care Bears and their cousins, or whatever they're called in English. And I was just like this the whole time. I still think that they are some of the most incredibly well-designed characters in history. The colors are genius. The colors are very baroque, and the design of the characters and the meaning of the characters. My head exploded. And I had the same experience when I saw Alice in Wonderland, and characters from my childhood. And as I said before, watching ballet and operas when I was a little kid. All of this, and the way I dressed then, today, and Holly Obby is a huge character that is important in my life. Super, super important. Strawberry Shortcake. They just kept staying with me forever. And, everything just stay with me. Everything I loved, I keep. I kept stationaries and everything since I'm 5 years old. Inspiration just never ends. And I would say that that was the moment that was most important as an artist, was when I was 5, when I really was like shocked by what a character can create and evoke inside of you, and how you can relate to something that is like Care Bear and that it's weird shape. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just childhood is just a part of life, and some people forget about childhood. Somehow they turn into grown-ups. I don't know how they live with themselves, but sure.
I think that subconsciously it comes out in other ways. And for those who aren't creative, they still find, I think, themselves thinking about those stories and those characters and those visuals and always having that nostalgic connection. And it's during your most formative years that you're now experiencing those stories and characters and that design work.
I have an answer for that about Naya. Naya, I still haven't shown her Care Bears, but I show her a lot of the Moomins. If you don't know, they are their Finnish characters. And I think they have a lot of values. Not only that they're designed incredibly well, they are. I just can watch them forever with her. So she's obsessed with the Moomins, and she liked Clifford, but it's not because of me. Somebody gave her Clifford. So characters are very important to her too. She just continued talking about the Moomins and the characters, and she recognized my work. If she see a pillow of mine, she will be like, "Mommy's painting." So she knows every time that it's my work and something else. So she already recognized the meaning of a character, and it's important to her. And she's only 2, and I think it's not because she's special. I think that's how we are.
Yeah, I think we absorb everything and we lose a bit of that as we get older. So as a mom, I'm sure it's exciting to share with her everything that you grew up loving and everything that you love today.
I still in the process of what fit their age. So
Well, yeah, there's that. I mean, she loves opera, so that's quite mature.
I don't want to watch opera. She's like, yeah, I love that.
Oh no. They grew up so fast.
Yeah, I forced her to watch too many opera. She's like, no, no opera, please.
Oh. And Gina's follow-up question, which I think is a really good one, is does she inspire you to paint differently?
She does. Unfortunately, I don't inspire her to paint. She wants me to paint everything. I'm like, give her a pencil and she wants me to paint it. So she inspired me to paint differently. Yes, definitely, because I think that I want her to be inspired by the work and not to paint inspired, and by to see a different kind of woman that I was making before she was born. Actually, it started when I was pregnant and I made that collection, Princess of None. And it was a very feisty collection about independence and kicking ass. About liberation. And so that was the moment it started. And I softened since. I was a very aggressive pregnant woman.
All those hormones. So one of the things we get asked about a lot with regard to your work is your framing. And I think it's nice that we have these 2 different portraits here because people recognize your work for the ornate, very detailed frames, usually gold, that your work's exhibited in. But sometimes you go for still pretty ornate, but perhaps not as involved frames. And then finally with Candelabra, which leads me to the question, you painted her on a cradle panel and then added gold to the sides. So what made that decision for you as far as not framing her in a more traditional frame?
That kind of happened as I got that. I'm trying to understand. Yeah, I got that block. Not a canvas. I don't know what to call that.
Oh, the panel.
Panel from Treacle, and that's how they call Treacle.
I think so.
And it's a Masonite. It's a little smoother than other surfaces I paint usually, and it was supposed to be in a group show that's the size. So I used gold leaf. It's actually gold, and I really liked it because I felt like because the piece is so classic. I think it makes sense to have some modern touch to it. So I was against reframing it. You remember?
Yes, when we had her, you told us we weren't allowed to put her in a frame.
Are you allowed to do as you want? But I think that she's unique in that way because she feel more current this way, and not just like a fake rococo. Because there is a lot of elements that feel very authentic, but she's not. She's new, and that's I think what keeps her kind of modern. And yet it is gold leaf, so it's traditional at the same time.
I think so too, and clearly we never framed her, so we agree with you. So our next question is, how long does it take to make one painting?
Well, what kind of, like these ones, for example?
Yeah, because your works, you haven't really painted this small in a bit. But your work, whether it's Limoges, where you have the individualized portrait, or the more narrative sense, where there are multiple characters and a bit of a landscape, I guess, yeah. Tell us about the smaller portraits and then the more involved landscape and what falls in between.
Well, the reason why I stopped making the small ones, because I told you that before, they're taking so long, and that makes no sense to me to work so hard and make less money. So I started getting bigger. They take as much time as, let's say, twice as the size. Details are details, and if you make them smaller, they're harder to make. So a portrait would take, I'd say, maybe 2.5 weeks, a simple portrait.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was Eo's portrait we talked about, T Diamond T, sorry, and she took forever. I don't even know.
But that was also because of how involved you engineered her form with the decorative elements.
Her neck was a nightmare. It had to be done right, and it was so easy to make mistakes, and it just never ended. Drawing the neck, even though it looks simple, it looks so like basic, but just drawing the neck, like forever.
You're engineering things that don't go together normally, and you're making it make sense visually. So you have to figure that out.
Yeah, I do like turtles, and I need to make a turtle. That's my answer for that question.
Oh, that's good. I would like to see a turtle.
Yeah, how would I not make a turtle? It's a shame that they...
Well, now you will. So I'd also like to know about their hairstyling. Oftentimes they're quite traditional. Sometimes they're contemporary. What inspires you to do what with each piece?
Sometimes the hair is inspiration. So in Pink Limoges, she's inspired by a hairstyle I saw on an editorial from the early 90s of Vivienne Westwood. And I wish I had the book here. The ringlets were so perfect. And I just, that's what was inspiring the whole piece. And then if you go to candelabra, so again, that's actually very interesting. In this case, also the hair was what was inspiring. It's not always like that. I was looking for a hair later, but she is based on a portrait of, wait, is that Nathier? Yeah, that's Nathier. And her hair, she have that bow too in his painting, and I think it's actually not a painting, it's a detail. And her hair is half covered with a piece of fabric, but I just love that hair so much. I loved her grayish hair, and I took some of it. It's not exactly the same, and from there I figure out the rest of her. And then what else we have there? Yeah, so she's inspired by the runway look, and that's just the runway look.
And with your work, you start off in a sketch, and then you move on to a more detailed drawing that then evolves into the painting?
In this particular 3, I would say only for candelabra. I actually did draw the other ones directly on the board, but that's because they're smaller. And it's easier, because if it's a larger piece, I need the composition to be exact. And for that, I need to project it or plan it first. Yeah, I'll make a turtle.
And I'm sorry I don't have a bigger piece to show you guys, but I'm sure you've all seen the works that we've both posted. So I'm going to ask why portraits doesn't look at us. Like I know it's a, I don't like I know it's a portrait look at us. You're communicating with us. So she wants to know why the gaze isn't confrontational.
Well, I think they do. Two of yours do look directly.
Let's see, of these two,
She's not.
she's
No.
not. Candelabra, I mean, she's kind of downcast. She's not really looking at us. I guess Blue Bloom, maybe a bit more confrontational.
Is she? Yeah, I think so. It's dependent. It's dependent how I feel about the painting. If it's a personal, like I'm close in myself kind of situation, or I want to communicate what I feel to the world. The painting is supposed to say different things. A lot of the more fuller compositions with backgrounds and a story, and they will probably not going to look directly because it's not a portrait, and it's like you are invading. It's fine, but you know. I also was told before that I don't look directly at people's eyes. I have a friend that constantly asks me why I look at his forehead. Direct my eyes a little bit above the eyes.
So a bit of that self-portraiture element in your pieces sometimes.
I guess I don't like direct. It's I don't know what it is. Some people thought I think I'm aloof because of that. I don't think so. I just think I am maybe, I don't know, a little shy about that.
I mean, I think it adds to their, I mean, you're probably not going to like that I say it, but it gives them a bit of an aristocratic air, which I've always loved in historic paintings. And it's not that I feel like I can't connect because it's a different class of people or a historic, return, but there's just such an elegance and such a confidence. And I think that truly comes out because of the way that these portraits are looking. They probably are noticing you, but there's so much in themselves and in what they're communicating that, you kind of don't matter as much. And I don't know. I've always loved that about the pieces.
Well, that's very interesting observation. I think that the aristocrats are probably huge assholes, but they're a huge inspiration in the way that like we today is like, first of all, I'm Jewish, second, I'm a woman, and I'm an immigrant. And what I'm trying to say about that is that today you can choose to be your own kind of princess, queen, whatever. And I say a princess, it's really important. It will be obviously not Elsa and Anna. If anybody
Frozen.
This is not what I want to portray to my kid. Don't be Elsa. I mean, she is an actual princess. Be your own fucking princess. And I know Elsa is her own fucking character, and I actually like that part of it. But the obsession with those particular characters is really upsetting to me because I think it doesn't create any individuality. And a lot of the ballets I did grow up on have a lot of characters that are princesses that are not necessarily a princess. So Coppelia, for example, my favorite ballet, she's just a peasant and she's a fucking princess. So at the same time, because she has so much character, and she's just free and independent and feminine, and it's like those things should not contradict. It's a feminist way to be feminine. It's a feminist way to be a princess, and I think and it is freedom. So I'm using aristocracy as a metaphor, and definitely I'm against aristocracy. So it's like be your own, queen of your own world, and if somebody have a problem with that, don't fucking care because it's your own fucking world. So
well, I think that so many connect, both males and females, with that message, as well as the others that they derive from your work. And it's empowering, and the images are beautiful, but they speak so much more than just, the work at face value.
Cool.
So, let me see. I think we got all the questions that have popped up for now. I had a question for you again, but now I forgot it.
You want to give a sneak peek of what you talked about? I do, or it's far away.
Yeah, no, let's do it. And also, someone had asked, actually, I just found that the technique, you work with oil on panel. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And then we'll go into what you're working on.
Well, I'm just painting in regular oil, and my medium is usually walnut. The oil I use is usually walnut, and that's it. Glazing, I like. There is one medium I'm using too. It's some kind of a glazing that I can come and find it later. But yeah, basically just regular oil painting.
And when you start working on the panel, whether you're transferring the drawing on there or you're actually starting with paint, your layer tends to be all blue to start with. Is that correct?
Sometimes, sometimes not. Depends.
What does it depend on?
It actually depends on time. I have to say, sometimes if I'm pressed on time, what I would do, well, if I don't have any time, you know, if I have a lot of time to work on a piece, I will layer it all in underpaint in blue and white, and it's acrylic. It's very much like a watercolor work. The blue will pop under the oils and will give it kind of a natural shading. And the white acrylic will do the same as giving a pop of white, and also will remind me the guidelines that I have planned while I'm painting, and I'm starting to like go heavy into the painting, and I'm going to lose some of the original drawing. And all of the work is drawn to perfect detail. Actually, the drawings take me longer sometimes than actually painting, because all of the details are there and all of the underpaint is there, and then it just can be a lot of fun, just like filling up the little parts. And if I don't have time, I use this black oil pencil. It's oil-based pencil. It's very, very black, and you can really work well with it on shading. And then on top of that, I will gesso it with a very thin layer. It will give a very similar effect of underpaint. On top of that, I will work with white acrylic again to give the highlights. Because oils are so so transparent, it will stay. The acrylic is just gonna keep popping from underneath. So you build it up on top of the white reflection.
And that really gives a dimension, I think, and the depth to the figures you're painting.
It does, and it's also a great way to like keep it's a great way to save time, because you make mistakes and that saves you from mistakes. To me, it does. It just keep you on the same kind of like you remember what you planned, because when you work so much on a face, you can really ruin it. And then it happened before. I completely ruined the face, just worked too much on it, and just like removed it all, and the original underpaint was there, and I was like starting it again, and it was okay, it's there. I know what I planned to do and what I did wrong. So that's another thing that it helps doing.
I'd say so. So a couple more questions popped up, and then we'll do the sneak peek. Someone asked, are you portraying sadness in their eyes on purpose, or is it just how I see it?
Is what again?
Are you portraying sadness in their eyes on purpose, or is it just how she sees it, or he? I think she.
No, yeah, they're not happy. They're not. I don't love to. It's like I'm not a big fan of too happy. I'm cheerful, and I love humor. Like, you know, it's like to make jokes out of everything, and life is funny in a dark way. I guess I think like that's the realism. They live in a perfect world of their own. They live by them like they are. They have a perfect life. I have a pretty good life, but history is always there. Tales that I grew up with older people. You know, I said a million times in other interviews, World War II stories are a part of my life. I grew up with I was surrounded with Holocaust survivors, and I grew up with all those like happy fairy tales, and I had that mix always in my personality that I felt like it's not okay to be completely happy. I don't love it. I don't like it. It's feels wrong to me, and I'm happy to be not too happy. this is my zen, not to be extremely happy. It's not my personality. um I feel like it's complete me to have understanding of sadness, to have acceptance of sadness, of pain in the world. Their life is perfect. They live with everything they want. They express themselves perfectly, but they are aware of the sadness that is around them. um I constantly think of animals and sadness of animals. Yeah, it's just I guess they they feel the rest of the world, even though it's their own private world. So it's that is
And,
the mirror, I guess. That's the real mirror that you
and
get.
I mean, it's such a personal extension of you, but it's something that we can all relate to. And I think it's what makes your
Yeah,
work very connecting.
I think that that is, if somebody like my art, it's because they are looking for a little bit of negativity too. You can, I mean, it's just, my work is not all about beauty. It's just not, even though it's like a lot of people would see it this way. It's just not that um they will see the sadness, and they will be happy to have somebody understanding that sadness is a part of beauty and life and happiness. Sadness is a part of happiness.
It is. And
Yeah.
it's about making individuals who they are.
I'm curious, what did they say that is so funny?
Wait, hold on. I missed a bunch.
Yeah, there was a joke there.
We didn't. And Gina has another question too. But before we get to her, someone right before her asked if you ever experiment with a different style, subject matter privately.
um, Not really, no. I wondered about that too, but no, I don't really do that. I tried. Um, doesn't It's not happening. It's not working.
No, listen, if this cuts out once we hit the hour mark and we're still going, I'll go back live again so we can finish up. But just everyone pop back on with me when it happens because Instagram boots us off at the hour for live stories. So
Oh,
yeah, just a heads up to everybody. So now getting to Gina's question. I know that you have a special relationship with Jenny Bird. Does she ever inspire you? And do you have any favorite artists of today that inspire you?
yeah, Jenny Bird is definitely inspiring me. Sure, she's not here to watch it, so let's talk about
Maybe I should watch it overnight.
it. Jenny Bird is, first of all, I just fucking love her. She's an incredible, intelligent person. She's incredibly kind, and very, very honest. We're not similar in any way in personalities, uh, but the honesty between us is great. So I think she is. I think she's like the most honest artist I know. And she is just 100% an artist. More than, like, this is the most important thing to her. Her technique is crazy. Her paintings are just, incredibly made, and she just give everything. She will give more than anybody else that I know to her art. Except of being incredibly beautiful, she inspired me as like what right to do as a professional artist as well. And we talk about that a lot, to make choices and to protect yourself as an artist, and to protect yourself as a female artist. And because she's a few steps ahead of me, uh I always look up to her.
Oh.
I'm like, I'm gonna do the same. So yeah, definitely she inspired me by the professional steps, more than anything. Try not to be too inspired by her work because it's too close and it can be upsetting. But the technique to try to make the prettiest piece of art that you can do is definitely something I do. Look at her as, when you see her work in person, and you're just like shocked by how well it's made. And I'm like trying to remember to not be lazy.
She pushes you further.
Yeah.
So last question, and then we'll do the sneak peek. The question's about copyrights. What are your experiences with people using and sharing your work online? What should people pay more attention to?
What should people pay more attention to? Well, I don't mind if people share it. Um, they don't mind. I've seen some people that don't like when their work is being tattooed, and they ask that if you are getting a tattoo, at least get a print. I think that in my case usually happen anyway, and if it's not, then this is the money you want to spend, uh, instead of paying me anything and paying for it's whatever. As long as it's make you happy. Sharing my work and not giving me credit, I haven't seen that. It's great when people share. Not sure, not sure what I think. Of course, if I see, and I have seen products made with my work, that is definitely upsetting. um, I have a lawyer for that. Yeah. What else?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a weird thing with the internet now and how many images are in that domain and therefore can be used in a multitude of ways with and without artist permission. So it's always best to ask the artist or ask their gallery.
Well, what for to share? I mean.
I mean, outside of sharing, if you're ever gonna, if you want to use it, you should, there's rights and reproductions involved in using imagery in publications, on merchandise.
Talking about completely on purpose illegal, you know.
I think that's what they meant.
Yeah, no, but that's illegal use on
Right,
purpose.
right.
They know it's illegal. They just don't care.
I mean, plain old sharing on social media is great, I think also. And as long as you're tagged, because I'm sure people are going to want to see more of what they're seeing already, that's the best way to do it. And as you said, you're happy to see people use your work as tattoo inspiration also. And they always tag you, and it's really cool to see those as well.
Get more tattoos. That's what I have to say.
All right, let's see what you're working on.
No, I meant that if you want to show the plate.
Oh yeah. Oh, hold on. I have to have Joseph go get it because I forgot to bring it upstairs.
All right, so meanwhile, I'll show my sketch again. So I'm
All
doing
right,
this
cool. Can you
sketch
go
of a
grab the
little
plate from the closet?
Where?
It's in my closet,
Sketch
towards the back,
will
on the
be
floor.
we're doing a benefit. So it will be a print, an open edition print. It will be pretty well priced, so everybody can afford it and everybody can participate, because none of us should shop now, honestly, but we all want to shop. So that's the way I kind of promote shopping with donation at the same time. 100% of the what do you call
Proceeds.
it?
Proceeds.
Yeah.
So it's nice because
We'll
you're,
do another one only on that one. I'm actually gonna do the work if my kid will let me. So.
well, you already got the sketch out and she looks beautiful. So I'm sure you'll find bits and pieces of time. You have the goal.
What?
You have the goal and it's for a very good reason. So I know that you'll get to it.
That's the only thing I managed to do since the whole thing started.
Well, it's really hard for anyone and everyone, and especially creatives who are extremely sensitive to everything going on to, kind of push that aside if that's not what they're tackling artistically and continue to work on what it is that they do. But
I think we're doing this for like an hour now, so I guess maybe we should show the play next time.
oh, he went downstairs to get it just now. So we'll hang on for another couple minutes. This is something new that we're releasing through the store, and we're really excited about it. And we're waiting until shipping is a little more normalized, I think, just because everything seems to take longer in transit right now. And so the fragility of the plates are a concern. So we have them ready and we're going to share a sneak peek of them with you as soon as Joseph brings them upstairs. And yeah, as always, if you have questions about them, you can email the store, you can email the gallery, you can DM me, and I'm happy to answer them. And the same goes for all the works that we showed you today, but of course, mainly Blue Bloom because the other two are not available. And yeah, okay, he's coming. Hold on. Here's Joseph unveiling the plate. Okay, they booted us off.
I changed.
That's what I was like, where is she? And I was waiting on here, and then it switched to my face again. All right, so since we hit the hour mark, we won't spend too much more time together, but we did want to show you this new release, this really beautiful plate. Do you want to tell us more about her? Because you did design her.
Wow, you remember her name? She's a football, right?
Oh my gosh. Is this from the Huntington collection?
Yeah, she's from the Huntington collection.
I don't remember her name anymore. I could have Joseph look it up.
Football.
But she had a sister as well with a kind of purple hair.
Right. So she's pretty much made in the US, and the gold is hand painted. That is made in China, but it's a hand painted plate, and the printing is done in the US. It's the blue is also it's completely hand painted around the blue and the gold. Um, it's you can pretty much put it in the dishwasher. I use mine. And yeah, it's a nice for display, but it is usable. So that's what I have to say.
Well, you've also done a painting that it looked like a plate too. It was on some kind of panel, I remember many years ago, but it looked like a plate. So I think that bringing back the decorative objects and how they influence and inspire your work is again important to note.
Well, if we talk about that, yeah, I hope to make tons of more porcelains. So we started other samples that of other products. So we're gonna start with that plate because we already have made 2 teacups. So we will have more teacups, but let's mix it around a little bit. Oh yeah, show them the back.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pick it up. Hold on. Okay, so there you guys can see the stamps as well. Sorry, it's trying to get sharp. There we go. There's those bunnies and that bear again that we talked about earlier.
No, they're just regular bunnies.
They're not men bunnies?
Men bunnies, oh maybe.
Let me just put this back. Hold on. So yeah, so we'll be releasing these plates soon, and we hope to do a ton more with different paintings integrated as well as palettes, and evolve it from there to many other things that you can use and display in your kitchen and dining room.
This one, I like this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as soon as this pandemic is over, and yeah, I don't know, the pandemic will not be over soon, but as soon as we're all happier, I guess we should.
Yeah. And when shipping is safer method, because right now for the gallery at least everything is taking a bit longer to get to its destination too. So because they're fragile, we want to definitely make sure that there's as little handling as possible when they ship out to everyone, so nothing arrives damaged.
Well, we also had the tea party that was supposed to be the launch, so that's the sad part.
Yep. But you know what? We were one of the first ones to cancel and recognize the need to quarantine, which is really important.
I'm happy we figured it out fast, and the faster people will stay in, of course. It is what it is. We just have to like sit it out.
Yeah. And you're going to help us with that by doing your drawing, and when you're ready, again, to kind of still continually share your world, because it makes all of us really happy and it takes us away. So we're excited, and I know you'll be back at it.
There's one more question. Let's answer that, and
then we'll go.
What is it?
Is Kukula a doll in translation? They definitely look like porcelain dolls.
Oh, we already answered that one. That it happened to be not on purpose, but it is not really a porcelain doll. It's a doll. Translation. Yeah.
But they do have that look, I suppose. And I mean, the name Kukula actually comes from an anime you watched growing up, right?
Yes, but that was the Hebrew name they gave her. But it could be that it was translated from Russian. So I'm not really sure why they call the character this way in Hebrew, because it's on the name in the Japanese original uh, show. So um, yeah, it probably is a doll.
I'd say so. It has the aesthetic also. So, and again, we get asked all the time if, you are from Russia because of the loose translation of it. So, okay. All right. So we'll let everyone go. I'll let you go, although I'll be talking to you in a couple minutes anyway. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kukula. I'm going to put this on stories so you guys can watch it again for the next 24 hours. And then as soon as I get a moment, I'm going to upload this as well as our other past stories to YouTube so you guys can continually watch it over again there. As always, you can DM us if you have questions, if you want to inquire on Blue Bloom. We do payment plans, we ship. And we're here to talk about art with you because it's something we love to do. So don't hesitate. And we'll see you guys all soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.